If you're thinking about buying a home in Washington in 2026, I think a lot of the advice you're hearing is focused on the wrong thing. This isn't a crash video, and it's not a prices are about to explode video either. What's happening right now is quieter than that, but it does change who has leverage, how negotiations are getting done, and why buyers are starting to feel something they haven't felt in a long time. Real estate is local, and Washington is not one market. I'm focusing on the Puget Sound, where most of the population, jobs, and housing pressure actually are. And stick around for force number 3, because it's the one topic people usually tell me I shouldn't talk about. I'm not going to give an opinion. I'm just going to walk you through the data and let you decide. Let's start with force number 1, because this one changes how we need to think about inventory in 2026. On the surface, it looks like inventory is just gradually rising. But the more important story is what happened in 2025. A lot of sellers didn't want to lower their prices. So instead of selling, they pulled their homes off the market and waited. According to Redfin, in September of 2025, nearly 85,000 homes were taken off the market nationwide, a 28% increase from the year before. Those homes didn't disappear. They went dormant. And here's the part most people miss. A company called RedX, which tracks expired and canceled listings, found that about 43% of expired listings relist within 6 months, nearly half. I think of this like a dam holding back water. But once sellers decide it's time to try again, that supply comes back, and it doesn't come back gently. We're already seeing this locally. According to the Northwest Multiple Listing Service, active listings across Washington were up more than 20% year over year by the end of 2025. Buyers in Seattle, King County, Snohomish, and Pierce already have more options than they did a year ago, even before many of those previously pulled homes relist. In Seattle specifically, prices have started to soften and homes are sitting on the market longer. That doesn't mean prices are collapsing. It means sellers are losing pricing power. So the real story isn't just that inventory is rising, it's that inventory was suppressed and now it's being released. And when that happens, buyers suddenly have choices again and sellers have to compete. That brings us to force number 2, and this is where leverage turns into something buyers can actually use. Force number 1 was about supply and choice, but it doesn't matter if the numbers still don't work. What's changed is how deals are getting done. Mortgage rates have come down from their highs. They're not back to pandemic lows, but they've stabilized in the low 6% range, which is meaningfully better than where they were not that long ago. Redfin has described this as a gradual housing reset, not a crash, just a market becoming workable again. But here's the part that really matters. Buyers aren't just accepting the rate they're quoted anymore. They're negotiating the deal so the effective cost comes down. And the most common way that's happening isn't exotic loan products. It's seller credits applied to a standard 30-year fixed mortgage. Let me make this simple. Instead of holding firm on price, a seller offers a 1 or 2% credit. That credit can be used to cover closing costs or permanently buy down the interest rate. The loan stays boring, the structure stays familiar, but the monthly payment drops. And that's a massive shift from 2021 and 22. Back then, buyers were bidding prices up, waiving inspections, waiving financing contingencies, and taking whatever terms they could get just to win. Today, sellers are competing again, and that competition shows up in terms, not just price. According to the National Association of Realtors, sellers and builders are increasingly offering concessions and credits to attract buyers. So when I say affordability is quietly improving, I don't mean homes are suddenly cheap. I mean buyers can finally structure deals that make long-term sense without panic. Now, let's get to force number 3. And this is the one people usually tell me I shouldn't talk about. Not because it's political, because it makes people uncomfortable when the data doesn't match the narrative. Housing demand comes down to one thing: How many people want to live here? And in 2025, something happened nationally that most nobody was prepared for. There's credible reporting suggesting the US population may have flatlined or even declined for the first time in modern history. That matters because for decades, housing demand in Washington was driven by population growth, especially migration. But when you zoom in, the picture gets more nuanced. Washington's recent population growth hasn't been driven primarily by people moving here from other states. It's been driven much more by international migration. Domestic migration into high-cost West Coast markets has slowed, and in some years gone negative. The Washington State Office of Financial Management shows migration still accounts for most population growth, but that pace has slowed compared to prior years. Think of housing demand like a treadmill. For years, the speed kept increasing. What's happening now isn't the treadmill shuts off. It's that the speed gets turned down. And when that happens, prices don't need to crash for the market to change. This is where renters matter. Even if most outmigration is renters, not homeowners, it still affects housing. Softer rental demand pressures rents first. That cools investor demand. Buyers become more patient. Sellers lose pricing power. That pressure works its way up the housing ladder over time. It isn't a crash story, it's a demand sensitivity story. So when you put all three of these forces together, the picture for 2026 becomes much clearer. Supply is coming back steadily. Affordability is quietly improving through negotiations, not collapse. And demand growth isn't as relentless as it used to be. None of this means housing is suddenly cheap, and it doesn't mean every neighborhood behaves the same way. But it does mean buyers have more leverage in 2026 than they've had in years, especially patient, informed buyers. So here are the key takeaways. First, stop anchoring to 2021 prices. That market doesn't exist anymore. Second, focus on terms, not just price. Credits, inspections, timelines. All of that is back on the table. Third, watch local signals. Days on market and price reductions matter more than national headlines. And finally, don't confuse patience with inaction. The buyers who do best aren't rushing, but they're not frozen either. If you're buying in the Puget Sound and want a grounded, neighborhood-specific take on where leverage actually exists right now, comment or message the word leverage. Thanks for watching. If this helped, subscribe. I break this down every month so you don't have to guess.